Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show, coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is how to empower your life. Let me introduce you to our guest cast as well as our entire Self-Evolution cast. Our guest cast today is Dr. Grant Crowley, Sensei. He's a wellness coach, and he's joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to the show, Sensei.
Thank you very much, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
Good to have you. We also have Ninon de Rosa. She's part of our Self-Evolution cast as well. She's joining us from that hot city called Las Vegas that everybody wants to go to.
Oh, is it hot this weekend? We have the big ball game here, so it's crowded and all these guys are here screaming. We're ready.
Sounds great. All right. And we also have Linda Dyer. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and she's coming to us from that beautiful continent called Australia, down under. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Good to have you. And last but not least, Jane Eileen Cohn. She is also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and she's joining us from San Diego. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, so my leading question goes out to Dr. Grant, and it is about, there's a lot of us that are, at least from my own experience, that are looking for self-empowerment outside of ourselves. We kind of all looking for that shiny object, the next shiny object, as I call it. So my question is really, what does it take to begin to go inward? Because we talk a lot about that with people and on the show, that we recommend that people start looking, it's an inside job, so people that start looking inward, how does that look like? What does it take to do that? And why is it that so many people resist going inside of themselves? I know it's a multiple question. Take whichever one you like first.
That's grand.
The first one I would always say is people need a portal. I think they need some access point to try to be able to go inward. And there are several portals. Myself, I teach 7, following the old samurai Zen paradigm, using your body. And if you have a portal, then you have a point of you have a beginning point. The reason people are scared is nothing in our society prepares people to look inside. So I think what happens is when they try, 20 years ago when I first tried and heard about it, I understood it intellectually, but when I tried, I couldn't figure out how to get in, and then I couldn't figure out what was significant or what wasn't, because usually I was just looking through projections anyway. So I changed that teaching method since then, and at least it works for me and my students very well.
Well, don't you think that the first step is for a person to be motivated? Wanting to go within is like the biggest hurdle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming we're already. I'm assuming we're already past that point, because of course, if they don't want to look at it, yeah, we're not going to go too far. Do they have?
Well, unless we give people a reason to do it. If people understand why it benefits them, that's the whole.
My question is Dr. Grant, how did you get in? How did you get over that hurdle, and how did you get into your inner self?
Well, it was in my particular case, because I have a real stubborn mind. I'm a martial artist. Martial art is very good, but martial art also can be a trap in worrying about mastering the technique, not understanding that the technique will only be it's only a reflection of your level of mind or your level of consciousness. But here in the West, especially when we learn martial art or something, they never tell you that, or they don't teach that. Americans especially, we love to master technique, So step by step, as I got older and I kept deepening my practice, it was like a graduated. I would get glimpses, usually when I'm sitting in stillness, not so much when I'm doing the sword itself, but like in seated meditation. And step by step, it was a process that unfolded for me, but it wasn't easy.
In
Maybe
martial arts,
it's an issue of letting go of control, would seem to me.
What did you say, Jane?
It seems to me it's a process of learning to let go of control and to understanding how that benefits you. Because what you were describing is, if you know a physical thing that you can do and then you feel in control and you're a martial artist and you have control over your enemy or however it is that you want to, and I actually studied martial arts a little tiny bit. I really loved it. But what you're talking about is the difference between controlling technique, versus an internal change, which is letting go of control in some ways.
Yeah, actually, real martial art, like especially the older crafts, I can't speak for modern sports martial art, but the older crafts, the whole thing isn't about fighting other people. It's an internal fight against the smaller self, so that you actually awaken to the true self. So since I was always trained that way, it wasn't the fault of my teachers. It just took me, in my case, a long time. And then now that I'm 56, I've been training 40 years, so there's been a lot of work.
Isn't martial arts a place where you really have to truly be centered? You have to really concentrate and be centered?
Oh, yes. But, concentration's always a trick, I think, because you can be highly concentrated but not conscious. So what I did was...
what is the difference with that?
What's the difference? If you are, for instance, you could be focused on reading a book and your eyes will be very strong, following each word, but you're not actually understanding anything. Sometimes a few pages could go by before a person will suddenly wake up and realize, wow, I'm reading, but what did I read? And then they have to leave. That's what I mean by that.
Right, so it's the difference between coming into the present moment and avoiding the present moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
isn't that? It's not just around martial arts. So what I'm hearing is exactly what I think we experience both in the fitness industry when I was in that, and also now in business. So that we're so into teaching the skills that I think the whole idea of finding out what really goes on for the person is not brought out until later. And I think we're coming into that age where more and more companies are now looking at the attitude of staff, which is, of course, where all these coaches, etc., come into, and these different, why so many personal development people are so busy now, because they realise the difference between the skills and success is the attitude of the people who are working in the business. The same, as you're saying, in martial arts, the difference between a really good martial artist and a not so good one is the one that not only manages the skills but brings in their beautiful mindset and allows themselves to relax enough to really let the whole thing flow.
Yeah, right off the get-go, I think I should probably say something so it doesn't, as far as me being a martial artist, and what we're talking about, martial art is really insignificant. It's just a certain methodology. But my concern as a sensei really is for the general public. And we have a term in the kind of swordsmanship that I practice. We call it Sanma no Kurai. And all it means is that your daily life, like if you're a married person or a family person, your daily life, what you do for a living, and if you do have, say, in my case, a craft of some kind, or you could be an actor or an actress or a dancer or whatever, or a fisherman, but it all has to be congruent. And what I do for, what I have extracted in my case is the simple fundamentals of human life that access portals that all human beings take part in. And then you can use it whether it's a corporate life, whether it would be a pioneer way out in the wilderness, and it's cross-gender, cross-culture, because it's just being human being. And it comes through the body. That's what I'm never practice martial arts.
Okay, so what does that mean that all of our lives, all of the different pieces of our lives are congruent? What does that mean? I want to make sure that the viewers understand, because everybody probably has a different perception of what congruent means.
I do.
What does that mean?
I like the question. Give me a second to really think about how to define congruence.
Okay.
Congruence, in my case, from a Zen perspective, means that whatever you're doing, whether instead of a compartmentalized life, like you go, when you go home, you're one person, and then when you put on another hat and you go to the office, you're another person, and if you take a trip to Aruba, you're another person. What congruence means is that you are the same in your character and bearing, and your state of mindfulness goes across the board. So there isn't some specialized area. For instance, let's say we got a mountain climber. The mountain climber might be extremely conscious.
I really would love it if you would use your own example instead of a mountain climber, please.
Or maybe he is a mountain climber.
No, I'm not.
We don't know yet.
In my case, actually, is a perfect example. When my first 26 years of studying Aikido, that particular teacher's teaching method was to make the dojo experience absolutely special and utterly separate from regular American society. So he accomplished some things in one way, but in most ways he failed as a teacher because he gave all of us a mindset that was not applicable to our daily life. So there was nothing congruent. When I went into the dojo, or all my friends went into the dojo, we lived in one particular sort of specialized mindful arena. And as soon as we left the dojo, that all fell by the wayside. Nowadays, when I started studying under Yagyu Sensei, it's exactly the opposite. Everything is completely related exactly to daily life and never separate from it. So everything can remain congruent. So in my case, for 26 years, it looked like a specialty. And then I never could figure out how to carry it into all the rest of my life. And that's a big problem. But
yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I think maybe one way to describe that is direct experience, which is where all real knowledge comes from. If you're not really in your actual present moment direct experience, it can't come from you. It's like something learned from outside of yourself that you're sort of imposing upon yourself, and there won't be congruency because it's not coming from the core of you. And direct experience is probably the most important thing for empowerment, I would think, and for change and for just everything that's really moves a person forward. How to get there is a whole other question.
That's like having go ahead. That's like having a hobby. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
We are becoming like The View.
No, we're not.
We all want to talk all at the same time. It ain't going to work.
I was going to say, is that similar to living your material? You know, so sometimes when I was learning to become a personal development person, coach, whatever, I witnessed other people in the profession who could go out and lecture on stage, and then there were very different people off stage. And I actually went through a time where I started asking questions about it because it didn't sit right with me. There was no integration between their professional world and then what they were actually, the way they were living outside of that professional world. And it really started to bother me, and I started to having to have conversations around it because I didn't want to be like that. It was something I really noticed. And for me, it was that integration of, if I'm going to be this person here, I want to be the same person there and there with my family, you know, out in... So it's that integration of what I know and then where I use that knowledge and how I communicate it.
Yeah,
I think it's...
Yeah, very good.
I think it's the pressure. You know, when we have you talked about fishing, Dr. Grant. You go fishing, it's casual. You've got no pressure, you've got no nothing. You're doing something you want to do and you're excited about it. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. But if you're in the work society and you're working, you're under kind of pressure to make sure you do it right. So you're not completely clearly and not completely free of yourself because you're trying to appease somebody else and you don't want to lose your job. So you've got this kind of edge going on. It's so funny when you think when you do a hobby, doesn't matter. And you're so free within of how you do it and what you do. Whereas when you're in a job and you're doing something, you're concerned, you're uptight, you're worried, am I going to do it right? And yet it shouldn't be like that. It should be the same way, that you are comfortable in whatever you do within yourself.
Yes, yeah, that's why the portals I'm describing, I think are
figured it.
critical.
Yeah.
So that you, wherever you are, you can be the same.
Okay, so I'm going to take a crack at explaining it from a different point of view, what I mean to be congruent. And it's really the same thing, what you described, Sensei. It's just I want to have the benefit to the viewers that they may hear this one differently and connect to it differently. So my explanation of congruency is to be able to experience and see the world the way we see the world, and then allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, right? And I know you like the mind, Sensei, so this is the input. These two things are the input to the mind. So the visual, the seeing, and the feeling are the input. And the output is, based on what we see and what we feel, then we will say what we will say, and then from that, we will do what we said. And that's the output of the brain. And when all these four things are completely congruent, now again, I'm using that word congruent, meaning that it's connected to who we really are as a magnificent human being, and we're living our purpose for what we came here to do and be, then what we've got is empowerment, self-empowerment.
Oh, yes.
Then anything is possible.
First, yeah. That would be a very...
Absolutely.
For sure.
Okay, and everybody that is in this conversation of self-evolution or evolution or consciousness or being awake, everybody in this conversation is after this. And I know I get a lot of questions about, okay, so I heard you said to go inside of myself, but I still don't understand what you mean by that. How do I do?
A lot of people, people don't understand that.
How do I
do
that? So how can we help our viewers? How do you go inside of yourself, inside of ourselves?
You want me to take it?
Anybody could take this up from a personal point of view, of course, not by somebody else's example.
I think we've all got different personalities. We all have different personalities ourselves. I know I do. I have different personalities for different people. I have a different personality for work, and I have one thing going on. Like I just closed a deal. I mean, I'm really excited right now because I just closed a deal on a house in Los Angeles because I live in Vegas, and it's been aggravating me. Not really aggravating, but it sits there.
So hang on for a second. I want to understand what you just said. So for me, that would be like a lot of work.
What's a lot of work?
To be able to manage all these different personalities and showing up differently to all these different people.
Well, I can't go fishing and have a wonderful time the same as I would handle my house.
So I'm just comparing. Right? I'm not saying that your way of doing it is wrong. I'm just saying that I'm having a much easier time. Like, I remember when I was not conscious that I was pretending. And I didn't realize at the time that that was a lot of hard work because I had to remember a lot of the things I did. so that when lying would be part of that, yes. And then how my life has transformed now is I don't have to worry about any of that stuff because I'm just being me.
Because you don't lie anymore. It's all about lying and telling the truth. That's all that is. That's all it is. Because if you lie, you've got to remember it. And you go, what did I say to them? How did I say it? And if you tell the truth, the truth will always come on top. It'll always come out, the truth, because it's there.
I don't lie anymore, Nina, because I don't need to.
Of course not. You never needed to before.
May I make a comment?
Well, yes, I did. Based on how I had my life set up, I had to lie.
You
All right,
thought,
let Grant speak.
All I wanted to reflect to Nina is one of the things I've always been gifted by is having a chance to study under really true grandmasters, quite a few of them. And the one thing I will say about them, because I was a personal protege, I get to be with them in social life and martial life and everywhere they go. And the one thing I did notice about them, whether we did international travel or wherever they were able to, or they actually are the same, whether they would be fishing, having a hamburger, or talking to like the Emperor of Japan. It was not only the masters were like that, though. That's one of the reasons I call them masters. I'm not saying that I have that level, but I admire that level. So I think it's very possible to do. The trick is to not be relative in our behavior, we have to not worry about being observed by the other people.
I like all my different personalities, though. I have different personalities, and I like them all. I don't want to be the same here and the same there. I love my personalities, and I love the difference I have of how I handle my life. It's the other people that sometimes get in the way, but how I personally handle it, I quite like it.
Yeah, I imagine, when you see a really great actor or actress, as long as they're conscious of what they're doing, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. All I was saying was, I think you can. In my case, I'm a pretty good actor. I don't want to be an actor anymore.
No.
But I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying I think it's possible.
Well, no,
You know what? I think the difference is whether you're going to be a leader or you're going to be a follower. Because if you are out there being totally congruent with yourself, you are probably entering into uncharted territory. You are doing things differently than other people are doing things, and you're sort of leading the way. And that can be quite challenging to do that.
Okay, so when you're saying you, who do you mean?
I mean me.
Okay, then could you please refer to yourself?
All right. I mean, it's just not
when
just
you say
about
you, it takes the complete focus off of you, and you're talking about somebody. I think you're talking about yourself. So
Right,
my request on this show is we need to come from our own experience, please.
So, and that's been a process. It's certainly, I started out being a very poor follower. I never was very good at being a follower because I just couldn't get it. Couldn't get what I was supposed to do. And then I didn't do it because I really couldn't sort of, get aligned with it. I'm
the total opposite to you. Total opposite.
Absolutely, that's probably
total the opposite. And I like to be the leader. But I want to get back to Dr. Grant. When Grant was saying...
What you're saying by the opposite is that you easily fit in. Is that not what you meant?
No, I don't. I don't try to fit in. I try for them to fit in with me. I'm a leader. No, I'm a leader. I'm definitely a leader.
I started out trying to be a follower because I wasn't connected with what was true for me, and through many years and many difficult circumstances, and I really I really focused hard on coming into present moment experience, even before I even understood what it was. It was very important to me to do that. And gradually through the years, I started getting what I call a vision coming through me. I started seeing things in a different way, and I started teaching.
Awesome.
And so, and that can get you in trouble sometimes.
Doesn't matter. Okay. It's okay.
So anyway.
It's okay to get into trouble. Not everyone's going to like what you say and what you do. Not everyone's going to like it. And that's just coming from you. It's,
But Nina,
getting back to Dr. Grant, I just want to add the acting thing. The greatest actors in the world is when they're who they are.
Yeah,
And instead of acting, of trying to be somebody else, yes, we try to take the character of somebody else, but at the same time, when we bring out our energy, and this is why they choose so many different actors and actresses, because they say they would fit the part better, not necessarily the look, but necessarily who they are and how they can bring it out. So in acting, the best you can ever be is who you are.
Yeah.
But Nino, my question for you is, you said that when you got that deal in Los Angeles, that it was hard work, and that you put on this different role. I'm just wondering, it's just an interesting question here, that if you were to take the attitude of the fisherman, who's totally relaxed and nothing's hard work and it is what it is, and if he's not attached to the outcome, if he catches something, it's great. If he doesn't, that's great too from the experience. If you were to take that fisherman attitude that you have in parts of your life and you were to put it into that property getting at Los Angeles, would that then you're still in consciousness and still every part of your body is still related to who you are? Would it be more relaxing then for you to go and do that business?
Let's put it this way. You know, it's funny because, yes, I'm a very relaxed person in this. I'm a very positive person, as everybody knows. But you're dealing with other people, and you're dealing with banks, and you're dealing with all these different personalities, and then you're trying to close a deal, and you're trying to get it off your books, and you're trying to. So you have to stay very concentrated, which is not a place that I would like to be all the time, because I'd much rather be out fishing or even doing what I'm doing right now. I love what I'm doing right now. I love talking. I love all these questions and all these answers. I'm in seventh heaven right now, and acting is, I love it.
All right, so I want to suggest, Nina, that there is no difference between you and the person that Linda described, the fisherman. There is no difference.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you, there is no difference, but when you're dealing with other people, there is a difference.
The more relaxed you are, actually, those other people may respond even quicker.
That's why it closed, and that's why I got such a great deal, and everything's off the books. And if you all knew the deal, it is an amazing deal that was absolutely beautiful, and it went 100% the way I wanted it.
Congratulations.
Share a famous story, a true story with for the viewers and everything that might speak to this. There was a Zen master who was asked feudal Japan to attend a ceremony. And at the ceremony, there were to be a very big lord and a lot of very important people. So when the Zen priest went there, when the big guests were arriving, noticed that his palms were sweating. And as soon as he noticed that, he realized that his level was...
Okay, Sensei, I'm having difficulty understanding what you're saying is because of your connection. Is anybody else having any issues?
Yes, I am.
Yes,
All right, so I want to suggest, because it's better if you actually understand what you say than for us to see you. Please close your cam, and at least that way we'll just look at your picture, but at least we can understand you.
Can you hear
it's
me?
fine. Keep going.
Oh,
Keep going.
It's much better. Much better.
Sorry.
This Zen master, supposed to be a master, he realizes his palms are sweating and that he was a little nervous because of the special guest. So in this particular man's sense of congruency would be for being a Zen master who leads a bunch of people in Zen, he renounced his leadership at the monastery for a number of years and returned to heavy training. And then after he overcame that level, he returned at a much more, he was non-relative to whom he was speaking or whom he was in front of. So I just wanted to share that with you as a reflection of when we're dealing with other people, in my opinion, they should not affect us in any way, shape, or form. That's just my perspective on that. I have the same problem, so I'm not there in my own personal level, but I'm striving for.
I would agree with you, and also it's certainly a very challenging thing to do. I think it has to do with understanding what we're actually really dependent on. As most people experience themselves being dependent upon what other people do, say, or the power they may have over us, including someone might buy what you have to offer or not. But we're really dependent upon a larger source. I mean, that's where I come from.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, the ideal is that we get along with everybody, but that's not the truth. That's not how reality and life is. I mean, that would be nice if you could all do that.
Because there's always another person. There's always that other person.
I don't even know if I would say that that's an ideal. I mean, the ideal is to always be you're the best you can be, and how other people respond to that you is not in your control, really.
Well, I see it a little bit differently. I mean, if I am in my growth and in my evolution and in my consciousness get to a place where nobody gets to me, nobody gets to activate me, then that's 100%. I'm being responsible for my own growth and my own evolution. And that's what I was talking about.
Well, so you meant that there wasn't conflict. That's what you meant by getting along with people?
Well, what I meant is the reason why why people don't get along is because there's unhealed issues in everybody that other people in the outside world gets to activate.
Well, with disagreement, when you're having a conversation, and politics is probably one of the
whatever.
greatest ones in the entire world.
Yeah, whatever.
If you've got the Republicans and the Democrats, and
yeah,
you've got
and
people
that's,
like that.
And that's one of the purpose of this show, is to help people and ourselves to heal ourselves fully so that we can actually move on to a plane where it isn't going to be about power struggles. It isn't going to be about who's going to speak first. It isn't, or who's going to speak next, or none of that stuff.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter, it really doesn't.
Yeah, it does matter. It does matter because it has to do with the quality of life, and it has to do with.
It shouldn't aggravate you if somebody else is talking and somebody else wants to talk, and if they're not saying the thing that you like, you should be able to understand it.
I'm not sure.
Of their point of view, everybody has a point of view.
Of course.
May I offer something?
But
yes.
But this show is not about our opinions, and it's not about what we think. This show is about being able to be real in the moment and being able to show it authentically. That's what this show is about.
Well, we know that, but go ahead, Doctor.
What I would like to offer is actual consciousness is prior to and above identification with ideas or any other anything else, whether it's somebody's opinion or whether it's a scientific fact or anything else. All of those things, and the stars and the moon, everything else, only hangs in the undifferentiated consciousness. So if we're actually fully, when you see a really fully conscious person, and I've had the honor of meeting a few, then the world and people and all kinds of events, they interact with it freely, but it's at the same time, it's as if they were standing alone in a field that extends tens of thousands of miles in every direction.
I completely agree with that. In my opinion and my own personal spiritual path, I understand it more and more. I think each person is only really in relationship with the larger universe, and other people might be vehicles for particular experiences, but there's only you and the larger reality, and so in that case it's not about the individual other person.
Well, it's about who you are and what you want. It all depends how you project that and who you are, what you want. And you can live a very aggravated life and everything can aggravate you, or you can live a very calm life and not really take in the disagreements of other people and just be very grounded in yourself. And I think that's probably the way that you are talking about, Dr. Grant, correct?
It's close, but I'm aiming a little bit even beyond that. That's a state. It's a great state. But what I'm aiming for is more of the kind of thing that Eckhart Tolle refers to, where if you are in the space, I read just the other day. I'm a student of Tibetan Buddhism, And there was a beautiful phrase from a great, famous teacher that said it like this: if you think of the space of your body as emptiness, and then inside your body as a glass tube, an empty glass tube. So the inside of it with like empty space or pure energy, and then outside our body is empty space, pure energy. And then if you can connect with that inwardly, then if you just dissolve the outer shell, the outer inner equalizes. That's what I'm getting at.
What did you say about the shell? Your voice, the sound was sort of fading in and out.
I'm sorry.
If you do what with the shell?
If you dissolved it, or if you just shattered it like an empty egg, or if you have an egg, then all of a sudden inner and outer merge into the one existence, or the one life beyond form. And that's what I'm aiming. If my masters actually lived in that state, and if we achieve that, then we are liberated, and all of the relative things that go on in the world, you can interchange with them, but they won't upset you anymore.
Right.
So hasn't that controversy been going on for a long time? It's like, in my life, I really wanted the two hands of medicine to come together. And for me, it was like, science studying the energy outside of us, and religion studying the energy inside of us, and really in a way they're studying the same energy, so that if we could have those energies just come together. And for me it was around, can we bring the natural medicines and the doctors together? Can we bring, how many other things can we bring together rather than have them fight against each other, because it's the same energy. They're just looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really feel like I need to bring the show back to its original intention, which was how to empower your life, because now we're going off to almost to the point where we're talking about enlightenment, and I don't think we're going to be serving our viewers right now where they don't even know how to go inside of themselves and start their own healing and journey. So,
well, Steve, how did you get inside of yourself? You said you had all these problems. So for our viewers, how did you manage to get, and what did you do that changed yourself, and you're aware of your change? What did you actually do to do that?
Well, Nina and I actually didn't have any problems. All the things that I was going through in my life was part of my journey, is what it took to get me to where I am today. So I don't see them as problems. Maybe you do, but I don't.
No, I don't, but you said that. You had a lot of things that happened that you changed. So
I'm sure you saw them as problems when they occurred.
Well, when they occurred, even then they didn't occur to be problems. They were problems for other people, not for me.
Then why then if they weren't
because
problems,
I was doing what I wanted to do.
Steve, if they were not problems, they weren't anything wrong, then why have you changed?
Because I was destroying me.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it?
But at the time when I was doing it, I didn't realize it. Isn't that interesting? I didn't realize that I was destroying myself until I almost did.
Then you saw it was a problem?
Well, then I still didn't see it as a problem. I saw it as a choice. Do I want to continue this? And if I do continue, it's certain death. Or do I want to entertain change?
So what I'm trying to ask you is for people out there.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and also for ourselves is how did you manage to get to that point of feeling really, really good about yourself now, which obviously you are. You're feeling very relaxed and very...
So I think what Steve is saying, what you're saying, is it's a matter of understanding what the choices are, that you have a choice.
Well, how I got here, first of all, and I want to be really clear about this, is that I had to do a certain undoing of me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So until I did the undoing of me, none of this is possible. Like even what I'm doing on the show would not be possible if I didn't undo me, the old me.
So you were admitting to things that you really didn't like doing. You were starting to admit to it all.
No. I loved doing it. I loved doing it until I realized that I'm going to pay for all the stuff that I love doing with my life. That's what it's going to cost me.
Because you were making the wrong choice?
Well, at the time, it seemed
So
like...
I think it's a shift in understanding what your self-interest actually is.
So here's what I want to say about that.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah, no, hang on. I want to just go back, rewind to the point where Ninan said, wrong choice. Okay, so I don't look at life anymore as wrong or right. Okay?
Anymore, which you did before then?
When I was unconscious, yes.
Okay.
And I used to judge people, and I used to assess them, and I don't do that anymore. What I see now, when I see somebody that's an alcoholic, what I see is a beautiful human being who's on training wheels. They are going through their life challenges right now, what they're supposed to be going through, because if they weren't drunk, if they weren't doing what they're doing in the moment, then you could say, you have to say that everything that we're doing in the moment is just the perfect right thing, what we're doing. So if that person is drinking, and when I was gambling, and when I was doing it in the moment, I was doing the exact right thing, because if I didn't do that, I would have been doing something else.
Obviously. But that's self-worth. Yeah, self-worth. And when you see somebody drunk, their self-worth is they don't like themselves anymore, or something happened in their life. None of that
really matters. That's just a judgment, an assessment. None of that matters.
To them it matters.
What matters? No, to them it doesn't matter, because the drunk, what the alcoholic needs to have is another drink. Here's another drink, until they get to the point where they can't stand themselves anymore. And then they have to say, oh my God, I cannot take this for 1 minute longer. So I either have to, or I have to do something different, and I'm ready to change, or the alternative is, I'm going to die.
But you know, if you want to achieve your goal of how to empower people, I don't, do you think this will serve the majority of the people? I think it's too generalized. But,
my own life example is too generalized for you? Well, let's go to yours.
What do you think, Grant? Dr. Grant, what would you suggest for the people out there? Say someone's drunk. How do they change this whole thing? Because as Steve said, all they want is another drink.
First, they have to want to change it.
There you go.
That's right.
yeah, so given that someone wants to do a change, like when Steve wanted to change gambling, so let's say we'll take that as a given. From there, people will need some kind of a portal, some kind of a methodology if they want to empower themselves. Because the rest of the conditioning is too strong to just, it's all it is we call it a translation. You can have a transformation where you shift a level up or a level down, but in the majority of so-called spiritual evolution, it's only a translation. It's sort of like taking the furniture on the same floor of a house and just moving it around. It looks different, but it's just.
But it's still there. It's still there.
So what do you mean by that?
Let's say somebody has a number of habits and they change them. They replace them with some other habits, but nothing happened in terms of their consciousness or personal empowerment. They just swap A for B. Where, like say, Steve's case, it didn't swap A for B. He actually abolished an entire aspect of his life, so another new aspect was born. I used to date a lady, beautiful looking woman that lives in Vegas now. And that's all she ever does. She's still doing it today. She just, very skillful woman, beautiful lady, but all she does is rearrange furniture, and she'll do that right to the grave because she can't actually see it. But I know in my case, for me to make the shift from being an outward martial artist kind of a guy with all kinds of technique and everything to an inward man, I made a catastrophic change in everything and in my entire vision in order to get in there.
Right. So for some people, it's an act of will. I think that is for Steve as well, and sounds like for you too. So that is one tool. If someone has a very strong will, they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I think also with Steve, I think Steve probably also ran out of money, right? You didn't have much money left and everything, credit cards and everything, and you came to kind of a challenge. I can't continue gambling because I don't have any more money. So therefore, if I've done that, I've got to change my life around. Is that correct, Steve?
No, because I could always make more money. You see, I could go lose $10,000, and that's just $10,000, and I could make more.
Yeah, but you can't go out make it. That would take time.
Yeah, but
I think we're back to the motive again. I wanted to ask.
I was gambling for 15 years. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You win, you make money, you lose money, and I could have kept going on as long as I wanted it to, except that I didn't want to go any longer. I had it.
Right.
I had enough.
So I want to
of
ask
myself.
Brent, how did that shift
I
for
was
you? How did you make
let me
the
say it
decision?
this way so it's really clear. I was disgusted with myself and what I created in my life. Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the motivation. So it's.
But is that enough? Is that enough for some? I think are we really getting to the clients here or the people listening to this show? What is it that they need in order to make that change to get inside of them? For example, I go back into certain things that happened with me. A guy yelled at me, really yelled at me. He said, "You are so selfish right now. That little boy just wanted a photo of you, and all you can say is, oh no, do you know, I don't want to be in the photo. Don't take photos of me." He said, "You didn't think for a minute that little boy could receive so much joy by having you in his photo. You only thought about yourself." And I never forgot that conversation because I was working at that time with 108 children. And all I thought about was this control freak thing. I had no staff, so I was just literally managing these children. But that was a profound change in my life that allowed me to change, not just for myself, but for others, to relax a little bit more around.
Beautiful.
So it's not just, yes, I made a choice to change, but it came from an outside source. It came from something. What is that something that we have to have happen to us that takes us inside to think differently about what we're doing is no longer serving us?
I think that something is when we recognize something else that matters more. When we recognize that habit or whatever it is that we're doing doesn't really benefit us, and there is something that really does matter to us, and when that something that really matters to us becomes clearer to us, then making that decision is much easier.
Let me just say this, because this is like in my stomach, so I know it's the right thing to say. So what made me really disgusted about myself is that I realized that until that moment, the only thing that mattered is me. Mm-hmm. And I would do anything and everything to keep me entertained, satisfied, and make me feel like I'm on the top of the world. Okay, I would do anything, and I didn't realize that I did that at the cost of not taking care of my ex-wife and my kids, and the money that I gambled should have gone. A lot of that money should have gone to them.
So you were rather selfish then.
Not to the gambling. Well, however you want to judge me, that's fine.
I'm not judging you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's not a judgment. It doesn't matter. You can judge it. So until I realized that, okay, and I said, I don't really know anymore who I am. I don't. Because all the things that I was doing and why I was doing it, that is disgusting anymore. And that's not me. So then, if that's not me, then who the heck am I? And the only way I could find out, and this is directly connected to the theme, and this is why I wanted to say it, how to empower your life, is I had to stop. And I was willing to stop, and I was willing to go and find out, who is this guy? Really. And the only way I could figure out how to find out is to get rid of my cars and to lock myself up. Like I put myself in a 12 by 12 prison to force myself to go inside because until that point in my life, I was not interested in ever being alone. Do you get that?
Yeah, but you also had made your mind up within that this is really what you wanted to do.
Yes.
And it was something that you recognized within yourself that, okay, there's only one person that can really take care of all this. Nobody else can do it. They can tell me not to gamble, because I live with a gambler. My husband actually was a gambler and also an alcoholic, so I had two for the price of one. And I had to learn to handle this, but he always made enough money, or we made enough money, so that he could gamble. And the one thing I never, ever did, I never told him about his drinking, and I never told him about his gambling. I never nagged him. So therefore, it was not my problem, because it wasn't. And this is what he wanted to do. But I think, and he would go off, the binge and everything else and take foot of himself. But he really was very unhappy with himself. So that was a within thing for him. He wasn't happy with what he was doing in life and how he handled it. And to get over that, he gambled and drank.
May I offer something, folks?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
What you'll find, that the generality that we can say is that human beings, unfortunately, and the whole planet is going through this now, and will continue to go through it, is people learn from collapse. When the system that was supporting our ego or whatever we're doing collapses, like if we have a cancer, or someone leaves us, or there's a huge car crash, or something happens, we learn from collapse. Some people are able to do it without collapse, but I would say that they are the rare exception.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, because we're always going towards what we conceive of as self-interest. And as long as what we're doing seems to work, even if it's dysfunctional, we'll keep doing it until it doesn't work.
Yep.
And then, so maybe the thing to tell our audience is, if things are collapsing in your life, this is not necessarily a negative thing.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
It means what you're doing is not working, and there is another way.
Yes.
There is another way.
Yes. And people need to know there's another way.
Life inherently is meant to work, and if it's not working, then it means what you're doing is the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. However, I think you need to decide to change. There's a lot of people out there that wish they could change. That's very different to deciding. When you decide, when you make a clear, irrevocable decision that I'm going to change, today is the day I'm going to make change, then the universe will send you everything you need to help that change matter. It's just amazing. It's light, because you made a clear, irrevocable decision, and then you'll start acting on it and believing it and expect it.
But may I offer something, Lynn?
Sure.
In my experience, what you just said that's 100% true. But in my experience, in order to actually to deepen an open consciousness and actually experience life as opposed to some kind of cerebral thing up in the head, which of course is just a realm of neurons firing and there's nothing else. What I keep trying to bring back to is you need some portal and methodology that will make you into a gestalt, into a centaur. A centaur meaning total mind, body, and spirit is all fully conscious and integrated. And if they do that, then they are empowered. A lot of times they get a lot of these beautiful ideas and they want the change, and then it's just another cerebral loop, and it's like a hamster in a cage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then they go back.
In the few minutes that we have, can you start saying something about that?
We actually only have one. Thanks for bringing it up.
1 minute.
I think it's really important what you said, Dr. Grant, because when you're in that neuron fighting, there's no cells in the body regenerating. So people out there, if you're continually getting sick, you're just working off that 4%, make a decision to change, empower you to be more, and your cells will start regenerating and you'll feel wellness. It's amazing difference.
And you will, and you're right, Linda.
Well, interestingly, I do feel that we do need to retrain our subconscious mind. So because if we don't, we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and that's what Sensei is referring to, having a hamster in a cage. So, you know, I know that we could talk about this for hours, but it happened again, and this happens every Saturday. The show
At least we're consistent.
The show is at the end, and it's just heating up, and this is just the way it is, and I accept it and cherish it. So I really loved all of you on the show today, and
Thank you.
especially Sensei, and it's just been an incredible. I think it's been an incredible dialogue about something that I feel very strongly about, and I know all of you do. That we want to really help and assist people out there to be able to realize and understand that this is an inside job, and stop looking externally, because the answers to our deep questions about who we are and what our passion is and how we're going to be happy on this earth is all within us. And we're all conscious. We all came here as conscious human beings. We just forgot along the way. So it's just, let this be a reminder to all of our viewers that we're all the same. You have the same stuff inside of you that all of us have here, and you can do it. So I need to wrap it up. So thank you very much, Sensei. Thank you for the entire cast, as well as all of our viewers, and also everybody behind the glass. And if anything here touched, moved, and inspired you that you experienced or heard today, come to our website, livingconsciously.co. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye.